The pillar of New Shanghai cast its shadow across the quantum research facility as Dr. Sarah Chen made her evening rounds. 200 meters of seamless obsidian material that had puzzled humanity's finest minds for centuries loomed overhead, its surface still as pristine as the day it was discovered. Sarah often found herself staring up at it during her walks, wondering what secrets lay beneath its perfect black exterior. Humanity had built its greatest cities around these mysterious monuments. There were exactly 108 of them, scattered across Earth's surface, in deserts, mountains, oceans, and urban centers. They predated every known human civilization, yet showed no signs of wear or age. Their material composition defied analysis, and no amount of scanning or probing had ever revealed their internal structure. Still trying to solve the universe's greatest mystery, Thomas Young's voice startled her from her reverie. Her research partner emerged from the facility's main entrance, tablet in hand. Just thinking about how the pillar's quantum field interference patterns changed again today, Sarah replied, falling into step beside him. The variations are becoming more frequent. You and your patterns, Thomas chuckled. We've monitored these things for decades. They're just standing there, same as always. Sarah shook her head. Not the same. The quantum fluctuations are increasing in both frequency and amplitude. Something's different. Before Thomas could respond, a low rumble filled the air. Sarah looked up, expecting to see one of the massive cargo airships that regularly service the sprawling metropolis. Instead, the evening sky had taken on an odd purple hue. That's not normal, Thomas muttered, pulling up atmospheric data on his tablet. These readings, they're off the charts. Some kind of massive energy displacement in the upper atmosphere. The rumble grew to a roar. Citizens stopped in the streets below, pointing upward as the purple distortion intensified. Sarah's wrist computer chirped with an emergency alert from the Global Defense Network. Unknown objects had appeared in high orbit, moving rapidly toward Earth's major population centers. We need to get inside, Thomas said urgently, but Sarah couldn't tear her eyes away from the sky. The purple distortion was clearing, revealing something that made her breath catch in her throat. Ships. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, emerging from what could only be some kind of faster-than-light transit. Their hulls gleamed with an alien iridescence that hurt her eyes to look at directly. They were massive, each one easily the size of a small city. It's really happening, Sarah whispered. First contact. The words had barely left her mouth when every screen and holographic display in the city flickered to life simultaneously. A face appeared, humanoid, but definitely not human. Its skin was a pale lavender color, with symmetrical ridges running from its temples to its jaw. When it spoke, its words were automatically translated into Mandarin and English. People of Earth, the alien said, its voice carrying an odd harmonic quality. I am Supreme Commander Vexthor of the Kryvax Empire. Your world now falls within our designated expansion zone. Submit to imperial authority, and you will be permitted to serve as a productive member of our society. Resist, and we will demonstrate the consequences. Sarah's mind raced. This couldn't be happening. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries, but not like this. Not as an invasion. The message repeated on a loop as more ships took up position over major cities worldwide. Global defense forces scrambled aircraft and activated orbital weapons platforms, but Sarah knew it would be futile against technology capable of faster-than-light travel. That's when she noticed something extraordinary. The pillar's perfect black surface had begun to ripple like liquid metal. Patterns of light, previously invisible, began to trace complex geometric shapes across its surface. Similar reports flooded in from around the world. All 108 pillars were awakening simultaneously. Sarah, Thomas grabbed her arm, pointing upward. One of the alien ships had descended through the cloud layer directly above New Shanghai, its weapon systems visibly charging with the same purple energy they'd seen in the atmosphere. The pillar's surface erupted in a cascade of light. A beam of pure white energy lanced upward from its apex, striking the alien vessel. For a moment, the massive ship was outlined in brilliant white. Then it simply ceased to exist, disappearing without even an explosion. Just gone. Silence fell over the city. The remaining alien ships hung motionless in the sky, as if stunned by this unexpected development. The pillar's surface continued to shift and flow, geometric patterns pulsing with an inner light that seemed to grow stronger by the second. Sarah's wrist computer pinged again. Similar events were being reported globally. Every pillar that had stood silent watch over humanity for millennia had activated, and any alien ship that came within their range simply vanished. "They're not monuments," Sarah breathed, understanding flooding through her. "They're weapons, the defense system, and we've been living right next to them all this time." The alien commander's face appeared on the screens again, but this time his composed demeanor had cracked. "What trickery is this?" he demanded. "What technology do you possess?" "It's not our technology," Sarah murmured, though of course he couldn't hear her. "Something left it here, something that knew humanity would need protecting one day." As if in response to her words, new geometric patterns began flowing across the pillar's surface. But these weren't random designs. They were forming into distinct characters. A message, written in a script Sarah had never seen before, yet somehow found she could read. "The Guardian Network is now active. Protocol: defend Earth." Supreme Commander Vexthor paced the bridge of his flagship, his claws clicking against the polished deck. Holographic displays showed feeds from every major Earth city, each one dominated by those impossible black towers. In 12 standard cycles of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. "Analysis," he demanded. His science officer, Krell, gestured at the complex data streams flowing across her console. "The structures appear to be composed of materials beyond our current understanding. They're generating energy signatures that shouldn't be possible, and our sensors can't penetrate their outer layer. But most disturbing," she paused, mandibles clicking nervously, "we can't detect any trace of the ships they destroyed. No debris, no energy discharge, no residual radiation. They're just gone." Vexthor's ridged spines bristled with irritation. This was supposed to be a simple conquest, a primitive world ripe for absorption into the Empire. Instead, his fleet hung impotent in orbit, unable to approach any major population center without risking instant annihilation. "What of the humans themselves?" he asked. "Do they control these weapons?" "Negative," Krell replied. "Based on intercepted communications, they seem as surprised as we are. These towers predate their civilization. They don't even know what they are." On Earth, Sarah Chen had barely slept. The research facility beneath the new Shanghai pillar had transformed into an impromptu command center as scientists from around the world shared data and theories. The alien fleet remained in orbit, having withdrawn to a safe distance from the pillar's demonstrated range. "Look at this," Thomas said, pulling up a holographic display. "We're detecting quantum entanglement signatures between all 108 pillars. They're networked somehow, sharing data faster than light." Sarah nodded, studying the patterns. The geometric symbols appearing on their surfaces, they're not just random designs. They're changing in response to the tactical situation. "Watch." She gestured at a real-time feed showing 3 pillars. As an alien scout ship probed their defensive perimeter, the patterns shifted in perfect synchronization. Tracking its movement, the ship wisely retreated before crossing the threshold that would trigger a response. "They're learning," she realized, "adapting their defense protocols based on the enemy's behavior." A sudden commotion drew their attention to the main screen. Supreme Commander Vexthor was broadcasting again. "Primitive humans," he snarled, his translator barely keeping up with his agitated speech. "You think these ancient weapons will save you? The Kryvax Empire does not tolerate defiance. You have 1 planetary rotation to deactivate these devices and submit to our rule, or we will demonstrate the true meaning of superior technology." The transmission cut off. Sarah's stomach churned with anxiety. "They're planning something." something they think can overcome the pillars. She was right. Hours later, the Kryvax fleet began to move. But instead of approaching Earth directly, they took up position around Luna, Earth's moon. Massive energy signatures began building in their ship's weapon systems. They're going to attack from beyond the pillar's range. Thomas realized, horror dawning on his face. If they can't reach us directly, they'll bombard us from orbit with the moon as cover. The purple glow of charging weapon systems lit up the lunar surface like an artificial dawn. Sarah watched the tactical displays with growing dread as the energy readings climbed beyond anything their sensors could accurately measure. Then something extraordinary happened. The surfaces of all 108 pillars began to pulse with blinding light. The quantum entanglement readings between them spiked so high that monitoring equipment shorted out. In New Shanghai, Sarah shielded her eyes as the pillar near her facility erupted with energy. Not a single beam like before, but thousands of tendrils of light that reached skyward like an ethereal web. Similar energy webs sprang from every pillar worldwide, intersecting and combining in the upper atmosphere. Within seconds, a geodesic sphere of pure energy surrounded the entire planet. The Kryvax fleet opened fire, their combined weaponry releasing enough power to crack a small planet. The energy shield absorbed every shot without so much as a flicker. But the pillars weren't finished. The geometric patterns on their surfaces began spinning faster, building to a crescendo. The shield surrounding Earth pulsed once, and a wave of that same white energy expanded outward at impossible speed. When it reached the Kryvax fleet, ships began disappearing by the dozens. Vexthor's face appeared one final time on Earth's screens, his expression twisted with rage and fear. "This is impossible. What are you?" The transmission cut off mid-sentence as his flagship vanished along with the rest of the fleet. In the space of 30 seconds, nearly 1,000 ships had been erased from existence. In the stunned silence that followed, Sarah noticed new patterns forming on the pillar's surface. Another message. Threat neutralized. Implementing secondary protocols. Preparing for awakening. Awakening. Thomas whispered, "What's awakening?" Sarah stared at the pulsing patterns of light, her scientific mind racing with possibilities. "I don't think the pillars were just left here to protect us," she said slowly. "I think they were left here to teach us. And now that we've encountered alien life, maybe they think we're ready to learn." The world changed overnight. With the Kryvax threat eliminated, humanity's attention turned fully to the pillars, which had transformed from mysterious monuments into active technological marvels. The geometric patterns continued to flow across their surfaces, but now they were changing, evolving into increasingly complex forms. Dr. Sarah Chen hadn't left the New Shanghai facility in 3 days. She and her team had been documenting every change, every new pattern that emerged. The quantum entanglement field between the pillars had not dissipated after the battle. If anything, it was growing stronger. "Sarah, you need to see this," Thomas called from his workstation. "We're detecting new energy signatures from within the pillar. It's hollow." Sarah rushed to his console, studying the readings. "Not hollow," she corrected, excitement building in her voice. "Structured. There are distinct chambers and systems inside. The outer layer must have been some kind of dormant state." As if responding to their discovery, the surface of the pillar began to shift more dramatically. Sections of the perfect black material became transparent, revealing glimpses of incredible machinery within. Similar reports came in from pillars worldwide. They were all transforming simultaneously. Dr. Chen, a young researcher, burst into the lab. "The underwater pillar in the mid-Atlantic ridge. It's moving." Satellite footage showed the massive structure rising from its ancient resting place on the ocean floor, water cascading from its now transparent sections. As it breached the surface, they could see that its internal architecture was different from the land-based pillars. "They're not all identical," Sarah realized. "They have different functions within the network. But what is their purpose?" The answer began to reveal itself as more pillars activated. In the Sahara, a pillar descended into the earth, boring through bedrock with impossible ease. Hours later, underground sensors detected vast chambers being carved out beneath the desert. In Antarctica, another pillar began generating a controlled gravitational field, drawing in atmospheric moisture and converting it to pure water through an unknown process. But it was Dr. Maya Patil in Mumbai who made the breakthrough. Her team had been analyzing the geometric patterns using advanced linguistic algorithms when they discovered something extraordinary. It's not just a defensive system, Maya explained over a global conference call. These patterns, they're instructions, a curriculum, if you will. The pillars are teaching us how to understand their technology. Sarah immediately recognized the implications. Of course, she breathed. They weren't just left here to protect us. They're meant to guide our technological development. But why now? Why wait until after an alien attack to activate? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. James Wilson, a historian specializing in ancient civilizations, had been comparing the pillars' patterns to archaeological records when he found something that changed everything. "Look at these," he said, sharing images of cave paintings dating back 50,000 years. "We thought they were just abstract designs, but they're the same geometric patterns we're seeing now. The pillars have been communicating with us all along, just waiting for us to be ready to understand." As if confirming this theory, new patterns began forming on the pillar surfaces worldwide. But these were different. They were forming into clear, three-dimensional schematics. Designs for technology far beyond current human capabilities. Clean energy systems, gravity manipulation, faster than light travel. "This is incredible," Thomas whispered, watching the designs flow across the pillar's surface. "They're giving us everything, all their knowledge." Sarah shook her head. "Not everything. Not yet. Look at how the information is structured. It's being presented in stages, like chapters in a textbook. They want to make sure we understand each concept before moving to the next." A low rumble drew their attention skyward. The energy field surrounding Earth was changing, forming into distinct layers. The outermost layer seemed to be scanning deep space, while inner layers appeared to be analyzing Earth itself. New text appeared on the pillar's surface. "Beginning planetary assessment. Calculating technological advancement timeline. Warning. Additional hostile forces detected in adjacent systems. Defense network will maintain protection during development phase." Sarah's hands trembled as she recorded the message. The Kragaks weren't the only ones out there. "There are other threats coming, but we'll be ready for them," Thomas said firmly. "The pillars aren't just protecting us. They're preparing us to protect ourselves." Just then, all 108 pillars pulsed in unison, and a new message appeared. Phase 1 of Human Development Protocol initiating. Time to technological parity with current galactic standards. Estimated 50 years. Accelerated learning protocols engage. Sarah looked at the flowing patterns of knowledge with a mixture of awe and determination. Humanity had been given a chance, not just to survive, but to become something greater. They had 50 years to learn the secrets of the universe itself. She smiled. "Well then, let's get to work." 1 month after the Kragaks invasion, the first breakthrough came in an underground chamber beneath the Antarctic pillar. Dr. Sarah Chen had relocated there after detecting unique energy signatures that differed from all other pillar locations. What she and her international team found changed their understanding of human history forever. The chamber walls displayed three-dimensional holograms showing Earth's past, not as interpreted by archaeologists, but as recorded by the pillars themselves. The images showed a civilization that had existed over 100,000 years ago, human, but far more advanced than anything in recorded history. "This can't be right," Dr. Wilson muttered, studying the dates. "We have no archaeological evidence of any advanced civilization from this period." Sarah watched as the hologram showed vast cities powered by crystalline energy structures. "Maybe we do," and we just didn't recognize it. Look at their technology. It's all based on principles we're only beginning to understand. It wouldn't leave the kind of traces we typically look for. The holograms continued, showing humanity's first steps into space. But then something changed. The images showed massive ships arriving in the solar system, ships that dwarfed even the Kryvax fleet. The ancient humans fought back with incredible weapons, but the invaders were relentless. They called themselves the Devourers. A new voice said, making everyone jump. A holographic figure had appeared, a man wearing clothing that seemed both ancient and futuristic. I am an echo, a memory construct left within the Guardian network. We knew they would return eventually, as they always do. Sarah stepped forward. Who were they? What did they want? The Devourers consume civilizations, the hologram explained, not just physically, but culturally, technologically, spiritually. They absorb everything that makes a species unique, leaving only empty husks behind. We fought them for a century, but they were too powerful, too numerous. The chamber filled with images of the desperate war. Earth's ancient defenders fought valiantly, but world after world fell to the Devourers. Finally, only Earth remained. We knew we couldn't win, the hologram continued, but we could preserve, could prepare. The Guardian Network was our final project, a system that would protect Earth while humanity rebuilt itself from the ashes. We wiped all traces of our civilization, returned to a primitive state, allowing the Devourers to believe they had won. The pillars, Sarah whispered. You encoded all your knowledge into them. Knowledge, technology, weapons, everything we had learned. But more importantly, we encoded wisdom. The network wouldn't just protect humanity. It would guide your redevelopment, ensure you didn't repeat our mistakes, and when the time was right, when you faced your first true extraterrestrial threat, it would awaken. Thomas spoke up. The Kryvax weren't the real threat, were they? They just triggered the system's activation. Correct. The Devourers still exist, still consume. They move slowly across the galaxy, but they will return. The Kryvax were merely scavengers, feeding on what they thought was an easy target. The real war is yet to come. New holograms appeared, showing star maps and tactical displays. The Devourers' current position, their likely trajectory, their estimated time of arrival. 15 years. But you said we needed 50 years to reach technological parity. Sarah protested. The hologram smiled. That timeline assumed normal development protocols. But the network can accelerate the process if necessary. It will be difficult. Painful, even. Your civilization will need to advance centuries in just over a decade. But you have advantages we didn't have. What advantages? Unity, purpose, and most importantly, preparation. We fought alone, learning as we went. You will have our knowledge, our experience, and our technology. The hologram gestured, and the chamber filled with designs for weapons, defense systems, and technologies beyond anything humanity had imagined. There is something else you should know, the hologram added. The network isn't just a teaching tool. The pillars themselves can be transformed, combined, reconfigured. Together, they form something far more powerful than what you've seen. The images showed the pillars changing, merging, forming massive structures that defied comprehension. This was our final weapon, the one we never had time to complete. You will finish what we started. Sarah stared at the schematics in awe. Why us? Why trust humanity's descendants with this power? Because you've already proven yourselves worthy of it. Your response to the Kryvax, your scientists' immediate focus on understanding rather than weaponizing, your global cooperation rather than fighting among yourselves. These are the qualities we hope to see. The hologram began to fade. We leave you our legacy and our hope. Unite your world. Master our knowledge. Prepare for war. The network will guide you, but the future is in your hands. As the hologram disappeared, new patterns began flowing across the chamber walls. detailed instructions for humanity's next steps. Sarah looked at her colleagues, seeing the same mix of determination and awe on their faces. They had 15 years to prepare for a war that had already been fought once, against an enemy that had nearly destroyed their species. But this time, humanity wouldn't be starting from scratch. This time, they had a chance. Sarah activated her global comlink. "This is Dr. Chen. Get me the World Council. Priority Alpha. We need to begin immediately." 15 years could feel like an eternity or an instant. For humanity, it had been both. The acceleration of technological development had transformed Earth beyond recognition. Yet Dr. Sarah Chen felt like it was only yesterday that they'd discovered the truth in that Antarctic chamber. She stood at the observation deck of Orbital Command, looking down at a planet that would have been unrecognizable to her younger self. The pillars had kept their promise. Humanity had advanced centuries in just 15 years. Clean energy powered everything. Gravity manipulation had revolutionized transportation. Medical nanites had all but eliminated disease. But more importantly, humanity had changed. The threat of the Devourers had united Earth in a way nothing else could have. Old rivalries fell away in the face of extinction. Resources, knowledge, and power were shared freely. Children grew up learning both the advanced sciences taught by the pillars and the wisdom of why such power must be used responsibly. "They're coming." Thomas's voice drew her attention from the view. Her old research partner had aged well, thanks to the medical advances, but stress lines marked his face. Long-range sensors detect multiple dimensional ruptures forming at the edge of the solar system. Sarah nodded. The network had warned them this morning that the Devourers were approaching. "Are the pillars ready?" "All 108 are in position and fully charged. Humanity has evacuated from their vicinity as planned." He paused. "Do you really think this will work?" "It has to." Sarah turned to the tactical display, showing the positions of Earth's defenses. The pillars had been arranged in a precise geometric pattern around the planet, each one humming with power that their sensors still couldn't fully comprehend. The dimensional ruptures bloomed like dark flowers in space, and the Devourers emerged. Their ships were organic-looking things, all curves and tendrils, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. The smallest was larger than Earth's moon. The largest defied comprehension. "This is the collective." A voice boomed through all communication channels. "Your world will be consumed. Your knowledge will be added to our own. Resistance is wasteful." Sarah took a deep breath and activated the global broadcast system. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth. We know who you are. We know what you did to our ancestors. We are prepared." "Your knowledge is incomplete," the Devourer voice replied. "We have consumed 10,000 civilizations. Each one thought they were prepared. Each one fell. You will be no different." The Devourer fleet moved forward, their ships spreading out to surround Earth. Energy readings from their weapons built to impossible levels. But Sarah smiled. "You're right about one thing," she said. "We are different. Not because of our weapons or technology, but because we had something no other civilization had. Teachers who knew you were coming." She sent the signal. All 108 pillars pulsed with blinding light. The quantum entanglement field between them surged to levels that shorted out monitoring equipment across the solar system. And then they began to move. Each pillar lifted from its position, their perfect black surfaces flowing like liquid metal. They moved in precise patterns, combining and reconfiguring just as the hologram had shown them. Within minutes, they had formed something new. A vast geometric structure that enclosed Earth in a protective shell. "Impossible," the Devourer voice said, showing emotion for the first time. "That configuration, those energy readings. Our ancestors couldn't complete this weapon in time." Sarah replied, "But they made sure we could. They gave us everything we needed, not just the technology, but the understanding of how to use it. The wisdom to unite rather than fight among ourselves. The patience to learn rather than rush to power." The Devourer fleet opened fire. Energy weapons that could crack planets struck Earth's new defense system. The geometric shell absorbed every attack, growing brighter with each impact. You consume civilizations, Sarah continued. Take their knowledge while destroying what makes them unique. But humanity's strength isn't in our technology. It's in our ability to learn, to grow, to pass knowledge on to future generations. Our ancestors understood that. That's why they didn't just leave us weapons. They left us wisdom. The geometric shell began to pulse with familiar patterns, the same ones that had flowed across the pillar's surfaces. But now, they were amplified, combined, working in perfect harmony. "This is your only warning," Sarah declared. "Leave this solar system, leave this galaxy, never return, or we will show you what humanity can really do when we have time to prepare." The Devourers responded by intensifying their attack. Sarah nodded to Thomas. They never could resist their nature. Activate the final sequence. The geometric shell erupted with pure white light, just like the pillars had done against the Kravax. But this was different. Instead of directed beams, it released a wave of energy that expanded outward at impossible speed. When it reached the Devourer fleet, their massive ships didn't just disappear. They were transformed. The organic curves crystallized, becoming geometric patterns that matched the shell around Earth. The light that they had absorbed now reflected brilliantly. In seconds, the entire Devourer fleet had been converted into extensions of the very defense system they had tried to destroy. "What have you done?" the Devourer voice asked, genuine fear in its harmonic tones. "We've given you what you always wanted, new knowledge, new understanding, the wisdom our ancestors learned, the wisdom they taught us." Sarah watched as the transformed ships began moving into defensive positions around the solar system. "You wanted to consume us. Instead, you'll help us protect other civilizations from beings like your former selves." The voice fell silent. The transformed ships settled into their new positions, their surfaces beginning to flow with the same geometric patterns as the shell around Earth. Humanity's first war as an advanced civilization had ended not with destruction, but with transformation. "What now?" Thomas asked softly. Sarah looked out at the stars, no longer a source of fear, but of possibility. "Now we do what our ancestors hoped we would. We learn, we grow, we protect. And maybe somewhere out there are other civilizations who need teachers of their own." The geometric patterns continued to flow across the shell surrounding Earth, but they were changing again. Not just instructions now, but an invitation to the stars themselves. Humanity had not just survived. They had evolved into something their ancestors would have been proud of. The message that appeared on every screen and surface told the story of their transformation in 3 simple lines. The student becomes the teacher. The protected becomes the guardian. The future becomes now.